You create scalability when you actually hire another chiropractor or other provider. And those providers actually create durability because even in your absence, you can still continue to deliver chiropractic care. So not only are you creating scalability, which is multiplicative, but you create durability, which creates time freedom.
You mentioned throughput versus output. The difference between those two things, I think it's important that people understand what that is.
We have an entire program called the 7-Figure Associate Doctor Model, which addresses in 16 modules what I just listed there. I said, this is a knowledge base. This is a science on how to do this properly. You don't want to guess here, 68% of associate doctor relationships fail.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Clinic Mindset. You like that? Clinic Mindset podcast.
I like that.
We have amazing guests I'm going to get to in a minute. The topic here is scalable practice, preparing for a profitable exit. Scalable practice, the scalable practice with the founder of The Remarkable Practice, my friend, longtime friend, Dr. Stephen Franson, my brother. Welcome.
What's up, Cap? Great to be here, brother.
Great to have you. Never enough time with you, bro. Great to see you again. I'm a little grainy today, but they won't see that on the podcast. I know we can go on for hours and hours and hours about things that help doctors scale their practice. There's a bunch of different things, but I think we should dive down into some metrics, right? Metrics that matter. So let's talk about first things first. In your mind, what's a scalable practice or business in general?
I'm so glad you asked that question because it's become quite fashionable. Everybody's talking about it, right? And I hear people use the term, either misuse the term or they just don't quite understand what it means. So maybe just for this conversation, we can just agree on some definitions, right? So
let's do it.
I like to differentiate a practice and a business. I also like to differentiate a job from a business, right? So the practice is the clinical entity that exists to serve patients through healthcare, right? So it exists to drive better health experiences and better health outcomes for the patients. The other side of the chiropractic coin is the business, right? So there's the chiropractic business, and the chiropractic business is the economic engine that exists to drive productivity, revenue, and profitability for the owners, the investors, and the team. So those are two distinct things, two sides of the same coin, but very, very different. Practice is all about throughput, and the business is all about output, right? And throughput drives output. I think that's one frame. And then differentiating a job from a business in this scalability conversation. Jobs different from businesses in that businesses are scalable, they're durable, and they're transferable. Okay, so scalable means that in essence, you can give more, love more, serve more, make a bigger impact, and make a bigger income, but everything doesn't have to be done by you, right? You can create systems and create teams and train teams and delegate to teams. So you can leverage other people and systems, communication, etc. right? That's scalability. And then durability is the next level, right? So durability implies that you can give more, love more, serve more, make a bigger impact, and make a bigger income, even in your absence, right? So this is the key one, right? So everybody wants to achieve this. What it suggests is you're actually being able to claw back your time freedom, right? So this is when you go from being an owner-operator where you own the practice, but you are also the one that's head down, bum up, taking care of all the patients, right? So you're the only practitioner, right? You create scalability when you actually hire another chiropractor or other provider. And those providers actually create durability because even in your absence, you can still continue to deliver chiropractic care. So not only are you creating scalability, which is multiplicative, but you create durability, which creates time freedom. Now you're able to claw back your time so that you can, spend your time doing whatever you feel is the highest use of that time. So whether that means doing more clinical care, or it means being the CEO, or it means focusing on marketing or training and developing your team and your doctors, or maybe it means being home for, dinner time, bath time, bedtime. Maybe it means getting your Fridays back or your weekends back, or God forbid, you can you can take a vacation without having to close your practice, right? So there's nothing like paying for your vacations twice, right? So that's the durability component, right? That I think everybody wants it, but nobody is able to express it, right? So I think that's what we're teaching people how to do that uniquely at TRP.
When your practice is durable, you no longer have to have a job. It's almost
you no longer have a job. You now have a business.
You no longer have a job that's required. You can do it. It's a elective.
Yeah. So the term is optionality, right? So we all know there's a difference between having to adjust patients and getting to adjust patients. I was a CEO in my practice, but I never stopped adjusting, right? So I practiced for 25 years. I adjusted the morning we exited our practice and sold our practice so I could really develop TRP, and that was just my next calling. But I adjusted the morning before we sold the practice at lunch. I never stopped adjusting. I chose to adjust because it energized me for everything else. So it doesn't imply that you don't see patients anymore. It just implies that you don't have to see them anymore, right? So, and that's a really awesome place to function from, and that's called optionality.
Optionality. You mentioned throughput versus output in passing. So like, I know what that is, but that's in and of itself, the difference between those two things. I think it's important that people understand what that is. So maybe you can put some thought around that.
So throughput is a term that we use to describe the capacity of the practice, right? That's the service component. It's the volume component. It's the impact component. So the throughput of your practice is like if you have a potential to see 300 patients a week when you're totally at capacity, let's say better than 90% capacity, that's the throughput potential of the practice, right? And then you add a doctor and your throughput potential goes to 450 a week, right? So the throughput is how much service can you deliver with your given systems and team, right? So that's called the throughput. Output has to do with the economic engine, right? So the output is the productivity of, now you're talking about generating revenues and of course doing it efficiently so you generate profit. There's throughput and there's output, and throughput drives output, right? So we teach both sides of that coin.
Makes sense. And when you teach docs, you have your stages or phases of the life cycle of a practice or the provider or both. Mm-hmm. I know it's like launch, build. Take us through what those are. And then I got a question for you. I know one of them is scale. And there's that, I think it's build then scale. What's the one thing that holds the most doctors back from getting to the scale phase?
We created this framework to organize conversations like this, right? So it's called the 4 seasons to the chiropractic career, right? So this, if you're a business owner, if you're a chiropractic business owner, there's 4 seasons to your career. There's launch, build, scale, and exit. Launch is when you are in your first year of business. Okay. Build is when you're an established practice, but you're an owner-operator, right? So that's the person, as I described earlier, is you own the practice, but you're also the only doctor. So you are head down, bum up, taking care of all the patients. That's build. Scale is when you take that job you love and turn it into the business you've always wanted, right? So that's when you hire other providers. You can do it through partnership or through hiring associate doctors, what have you, right? So this is when you have multiple practitioners or maybe even multiple brick and mortars, and that's what we call an enterprise. So now you're in scale. And then finally there's exit, right? So death, taxes, and exiting, right? So we all exit, right? So the question is do you have an exit strategy that allows you to have a profitable and graceful exit?
Got it. Everybody wants to at least get the scale. They're going to exit no matter what. But like you said, do you have a plan for that? But you don't have a choice for that. You are going to exit, but you do want to get the scale. At least most doctors do at some point. So what's the number one thing? Why don't doctors get to the scale phase other than maybe they don't want to? I've never met a doctor that doesn't want to get to scale, but you've met a lot more doctors in this coaching than I have. So maybe I'm just... There's a lot of broken hearts out there. There's a lot of frog kissing that has gone on in the past. So it's most people just have a misunderstanding of scale, or they've had a bad experience trying to scale, or they're just afraid to scale, or it's just a knowledge gap. The importance of this can't be overstated, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're in build, you don't own a business, you own a job. Right. So if you're the only chiropractor, right? So, you take 90 days off, what breaks, right? So short answer, everything, right? So everything stopped. That's not owning a business, it's owning a job. You're self-employed and it's a glorious job and a glorious profession, and you love the job and we love the work, but it's a job. It's not a business. So we've got to recognize that in that season, if you stay in build, a job is not sustainable. It's by definition not scalable and not durable. And when it comes to exiting, nobody wants to buy your job, right? So there isn't really a good exit pathway for anybody who is a owner, operator, solo practitioner. So you want to go from build to scale before you exit, because if you create, a business that has scaled successfully,
you're going to have an appreciating asset that's cash flowing, and people will compete to buy that business, right? So it's very important that you have a future pacing to this. We say this is an oak tree conversation. When's the best time to or plant an oak tree? 50 years ago. When's the next best time? Today, right? So you have to start thinking about, how do I build it to sell it? That's a really sophisticated business perspective, is to be able to say, I might not sell this for 10 years, 15 years, 30 years. Great. Build it to sell it, right? So you're never going to regret building a business that you built to sell. And the punchline is you want to create the business that you don't even want to sell, right? Build the practice that you don't even want to sell, because it's an appreciating asset that cash flows. And guess what? Now you're back to having optionality. You don't want to sell it. It's appreciating every year. It's increasing in enterprise value. It's cash flowing. It's finally functioning like a business. You don't even want to buy it. And the punchline here is that's when everybody wants to buy it, right? So, you have the optionality.
Would you say that, like, build the practice that you'd want to buy if you were an investor?
You could also say that if you put your investor hat on and be able to say, and I have had many conversations to reverse engineer what would be an ideal acquisition. To be able to say, hey, Brian, you're buying practices. Clinic Mind is now, buying up practices, and they're going to have corporate clinics. And it's like, tell me, what is your buying criteria? Exactly what is the type of practice you'd be like, oh my gosh, I would absolutely give you a premium multiple for that. I would pay premium dollar for that, because anybody who's got the private equity behind them and they have the money to buy practices, their biggest challenge is deal flow, right? So they're just looking for qualified practices to buy, right? So if we're having a high level private equity, what we call a Wall Street exit conversation, that's how quickly you can get to, yeah, we know exactly what an ideal practice looks like. You build that and we'll buy it from you all day long, and we'll give you a premium for it, right? Because it's the speed of acquisition. Cool. Yeah, I think the biggest reason that most doctors either hesitate or don't ever make it to scale is they just don't know how to do it, Brian. Mm-hmm. The reality is, in order to scale, by definition, you've got to bring on another doctor. As I said, the most common way to do that is through associate doctors. And this is a terrifying place, right? It's like, oh my gosh, associate doctors. I don't know how to do this, right? So I don't know what I'm looking for. I don't know how to find them. I don't know how to interview them, vet them, hire them, onboard them, train them, equip them, develop them, optimize them, or exit them. I don't know anything, right?
Compensate them.
Exactly right? So yeah. All of these, what's a contract look like? What's a comp plan look like? What's a bonus system look like? How do you fire them? Like how do you unwind the relationship? We have an entire program called the 7-Figure Associate Doctor Model, which addresses in 16 modules what I just listed there. I said, this is a knowledge base. This is a science on how to do this properly. You don't want to guess here, 68% of associate doctor relationships fail, which is a terrible statistic for chiropractic. It's terrible for the owner. Yeah. It's terrible for the associate doctor, right? So we're really committed to helping owners do this right, because when you do it right, it's a win-win-win. It's a win for the owner. It's a win for the associate doctor. It's a win for chiropractic. You do it wrong, it's a lose-lose. Those are the only two choices. There's win-win-win.
Yeah, I know Chiro Matchmakers exists as well for that purpose, because it is so difficult. And the irony is, you're trying to scale your availability to find doctors, like put out ads, interview, all that stuff. You don't have the time to do the thing that you need to do to get more time. Sometimes it's the
paradox,
kind of thing, right?
It's the paradox. It's the hard easy, right? So versus the easy hard. The hard easy is like, you got to do the hard work on the front end, and once you do that successfully, everything gets easier on the backside. It's not easy, it gets easier, right? So, but if you try to procrastinate and be like, that sounds hard, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing because it's easier not to do that, eat that frog and take that big leap and do the hard work. Things just keep getting harder with time. Do the hard easy, and you don't have to do it alone. There's a process you can follow.
Clinic Mind, your all-in partner for practice success.